Hi everyone. So for today, thought we could do a little bit about breathing because up until today I haven't really talked too much about it. And some of the experiential movements we've done a little bit, but we haven't really done straight breathing practices. And what I'm noticing through a lot of my friends and colleagues' feeds is that breathwork's really popular right now. It's really trendy. And I'm one to usually buck the trends. I'm either years early or years late and hardly ever in the right spot. Um, and I don't really want to go into the trending breathwork stuff because I think that's a fad and it's going to more or less fade out. And I'm less concerned with what's popular right now and more concerned with what has been proven over time, over and over again, and how do we work on that? How do we grow from there as well? So for today, we're going to work with a very old practice of alternate nostril breathing. Alternate nostril breathing has been around, documented for thousands of years. It's an old Indian practice. I'm sure other cultures had it. It wouldn't be that hard to figure out. You have two nostrils you breathe in, so you can play around with it. From the Indian uh, traditional perspective, the different nostrils represent different channels of the body, one being a more feminine or um, sometimes referred to as a moon or a lunar or a slow um, channel, and the other being a masculine or a sun heating active channel. So we have these two channels we could work with if you want, but you can also see it if you don't want to go into any of that meta stuff or any of that esoteric stuff. You can see it as we just have two ways of working in. And they medically, from a Western medicine way of looking at it, we actually alternate which side is more dominant throughout the day. I believe it's every 90 minutes. I'll have to double check on that, so I'm not giving too much inaccurate information. So every 90 minutes, we're kind of switching which side is. And you probably have noticed this. There's probably been times when you've woken up and have been like really blocked on one side. You breathe really well, and you're like, "Oh, I'm so stuffed on this side," right? And then it goes away a little later, and then the other side maybe comes. So we're always kind of switching, and we can work with that. But that actually won't be the emphasis of today's practice. Today's practice is going to be more of an introduction if it's newer to you, or just a practice if it's not, or a refresher of alternate nostril breathing, because it's something so easy to do and it can really refresh you during the day and actually get you like amped up. So if you're kind of getting lethargic, it's the middle of the day, you've already had your lunch, you're back at the desk, and you're like, ugh. Some breathing practices such as this, no time at all, get you going. So what we're going to do is use usually your right hand. If you prefer lefty, you prefer your left hand. I won't go into what the meanings mean on that. It's not so important. Your comfort is much more important. You're going to take the two index and ring fingers and either keep them in the thumb and the palm or bring them up. Right? If you keep them in, you have little crab pinchers. If you keep them up, you still do, but you have these fingers up above, which can then point to the head. And then we're just going to seal off the nostrils. Now, I don't want you squeezing so hard that you are like can rip your nose off. It's just more a little bit, just very, very light. You can see that very, very quickly when you press in, you're you're not able to breathe in. Right? And my voice might get a little funny because my nose is going on here. So just gently, and then you're gonna gently let the left finger, the left side finger, uh, come off gently. It's still gonna stay on the nose. It just kind of comes a little bit off, and you can breathe in. And then give it a little more pressure, closing both off, and then breathe out the right side. Breathing in through that right side, a little more pressure, sealing it off, exhaling through the left. Inhaling through the left, sealing it off, exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right side, sealing it off, exhaling through the left. Inhaling left, exhaling right. Inhaling right, closing, and exhaling left. And you can let your fingers relax down, coming back to both nostrils in and out. I'll just do a short introduction. You guys can practice all you want on your own. And we'll have a few tips, a few sort of things that I learned much later on in life. When I was taught this years ago, I was taught as Nostril during a yoga training, and then much later, having studied with some more senior people who are well versed in the traditional practices, learned some little tips. I was like, oh, I wish I had learned that earlier. So I'll share them with you because they can be really helpful. The first is a lot of times when we are taught this, we're taught like finger off, close, off. But by doing that, you start to lose a sensation of your body. You can actually, when you breathe in, you can feel the air coming in and out. You can feel the nostrils, the tissues. You can feel a lot more when you're still slightly on. So that's the first tip. The first tip is keeping the connection with the fingers on the nose, on the outside of the nose. That's first. Second, if you're really congested on one side, and this was a game changer for me, you're really congested on one side. So right now my right side is a little more congested. What you can do when you come off is actually kind of come off and up a little bit. So because I'm staying on that contact, I can actually lift it up a little bit, right? Which lets me get a little more air in. The space becomes a little wider. It gives me a little more ability to breathe versus, and that's why step one is really important, because if we took our finger off, you can't get that extra ability. So that's just what you can do when you're breathing out or in. You can kind of come up and up a little bit, right? Go back to my right side, which is stuffed, and kind of come off, but then bring it a little bit up. So these are two little tips that they seem very small. If you're new to this, if you've been doing this before, these might be like, wow, I never knew that at all. And they make such a huge difference over time. So that is all for today. It's a lot, actually. It is a lot for you to practice with. I recommend doing it for about 5 minutes. One thing I didn't necessarily give was the length of time. So for me, what I enjoy doing when I um, do this practice is I usually like the count of four, right? So four in, four out, four in, four out. That's a number I just sort of like the number four. I was a musician for years, so 4 times is a very common time. I like that sort of thing. You can go more. You can do five. You can do six. You can do eight. You can do whatever it is. I'll recommend staying on the same on one side for this practice. So if you're going in 5 on your left side, you go out 5 on the right side, in 5. You keep it in this sort of rhythmic thing. And there are other practices at a later point we might go into as sort of why you'd want to alter time. And you can do less as well. If it's harder to breathe, breathing in for 2, breathing in for 3 will be totally fine. Whatever it is that is comfortable for you is more important. Um, and there are other ways of working with what are called stops or retentions. Uh, but for today, let's not complicate it. We'll do that another day. Today, let's just spend time with this. Alternate nostril breathing. Keep it simple and easy and practice. And what I'll ask is practice for a few days, a week or so, and then leave some notes in the comments and say some feedback like, hey, really enjoyed this, or hey, this happened, or whatever it is. And then other people can see it as well. And you start to create support for other people just by leaving a little note. It's kind of wonderful. So that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in. We'll have some more fun movement, breathing, meditation exercises coming up in the next few days, weeks, months, years. We'll just see how it goes. So, in the time being, have yourself a lovely day and practice. And thanks for coming in.